صباح خير مساء خير أينما كنتم أهلا بكم في صدمة. Hello everyone, welcome to Shock. Today I have a very special guest. He's a founder and a CEO of Al Comedy. He shocked the world when he introduced Egypt's first and official platform for stand-up comedy. With a business administration and marketing background, he's a self-proclaimed comedianpreneur. Half comedian and half entrepreneur, as he says. Started all from the ground up, performing for over 12 years straight in Cairo, Alexandria, London, Dubai, and various festivals all over the world. This acclaimed comedian stops at nothing, and he's always working hard. He consults, he coaches, and he has established a boutique agency in EnterTopia Entertainment, a total solution entertainment companies. Organized by Hashem El Comedy, it is my absolute honor to welcome my dear friend, Hashem El Garhy. Welcome to Sadma.
Sorry, that was a that was an intro, dude. That was an intro. Wow, it's EnterTopia, by the way. Which
my bad.
It's a combination of entertainment and utopia. So perfect entertainment. That's how you. What's up?
I'm having a great time. I'm happy to be in Cairo. I'm happy to be with you, and I'm happy to speak with you today, and for everybody to get to hear us today.
Yalla beaners. I'm excited. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it. It's an honor for you.
It is my honor, and it's a pleasure.
Stop. So yeah, I'm excited to come on and support and get this take the صدمة and leave. I want to take the صدمة and go.
هذه الفكرة. احنا البرنامج بتاعنا we're interchanging in our language, and that's the best thing. I feel like that's how we can get through to as many people as we can. Hashem.
Yo.
My first question to you, how are you? How are you before the pandemic and after the pandemic? How is Hashem before and after? I think we all changed.
It's gonna get really personal right now. Before the pandemic, it was really nice. It was alhamdulillah, I was organizing like 8 stand-up comedy shows per month in Cairo and Alexandria, and between the both. And 2020 started out really good. I was like, yes, finally, that it's paying off. And it's as if you were on this mountain and knowing that, khalas, I'm up here. What's the next step? You're like, I'm so close to summiting, and then a huge avalanche comes and throws you off. And that's what happened, because like I said, in 2020, I've never started off a year selling out 7 out of 8 shows per month, sold out. And then after it, you know that you're going to go travel and take your art and take your comedians that you were gigging with in Egypt, take them abroad. It wasn't the first time, but I mean, just starting off the year with that and then having it come to just an abrupt stop. صدمة فشخ bro. صدمة فشخ.
No, I totally understand.
It is a sudden. عارف when you're on autopilot and you're like, la 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 la, life is really nice, and boom, a train out of nowhere hits you, and then you kind of feel like a little part of you dies on the inside, because كل ده, it's your effort for the past so many years, وبعدين الفرحة, it's as if it's temporary, because خلاص انت حسيت ان انت okay, what's the next step? Then opening up more venues, we're gigging and having amazing comedians, bringing so much joy to people. وبعدين تاخد ده وبعدين تصدره برا مصر, وبعدين ترجع sell out another show في مكتبة اسكندرية. So you're like, yo, this is amazing. And you're getting shows right, left, and center. And you feel like كل ده is manifesting into something that you've been dreaming about من ساعة ما بدأت. ومرة واحدة صدمة.
No, أنا متفاهم لده. أنا understand. I think ناس كتيرة عدت بصدمات أو بمواقف، فاهم، حاجات كتيرة اتغيرت في الفترة اللي فاتت. بس إن شاء الله يعني everything will be even greater coming up، لأن الحزب الكوميدي يعتبر a serious platform for comedians in Egypt and in Cairo. ودي حاجة يعني مش يعتبر مش compliment أو حاجة، دي حاجة احنا كلنا شايفينها whether on social media أو in real life هنا في القاهرة يعني.
والله بص as many people have said قبل كده, no one's gonna understand your vision because God didn't send it to them, he sent it to you. فدي حاجات كتيرة يعني انت لازم تبقى شايفها, even starting out this podcast with you and looking ahead, because you know what the end goal is. If you see it, then it should be there. I knew that I was gonna get broke starting out a platform. I knew that كل الناس هتضحك في وشي تقول لي انت بتعمل ايه. I knew investors wouldn't take the موضوع seriously. I knew that they would rather invest in a tech startup where they can put money, where اللي هم مركزين على الموديل بتاع بره اللي احنا هنستثمر فلوس كتيرة فشخ في الستارت اب ده so we can scale exponentially. وبعدين على الله يابا, you know what I mean.
أيوة.
فهي انا كنت مدرك بالكلام ده اللي هو ماشي, مش not many people are gonna get it. انت بتبدأ حاجة من تحت الصفر, مفيش اي حد فاهم اي حاجة.
طبعا
انا ما كنتش فاهم اي حاجة.
اكيد طبعا يا هاشم. لازم تبقى في الموقف ده علشان فعلا تقدر فاهم الاكسبيرينس, and it's all about the journey in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% about the journey.
It's not about how you start, it's how you finish. فدي اهم حاجة. هنرجع تاني للحزب الكوميدي, بس خلينا الاول نتكلم عن هاشم.
Go ahead.
How was your upbringing? هاشم, انت you were raised في بلد تانية, and you decided to come here and يعني try to identify the Egyptian dream.
Fate decided, I didn't decide. Fate that decided. We were in the States, grew up there من 5 سنين ل 16 سنة, وبعدين مرة واحدة everybody asked me this question, مصر ولا امريكا؟ عارف السؤال البايخ ده. طب لو انت كنت هناك ما قعدتش ليه وكده؟ لو هو على اساس عيل عنده 16 سنه got his life figured out. okay, according to my schedule this is why. No, حصلش كده طبعا. حصل 9/11. ف my family had to come back عشان our paperwork stopped at that time. My dad's lawyers advised him, listen until things calm down, go to Egypt, go back to your country, immigrant. They didn't ما قالوش كده يعني, بس بشكل مباشر يعني, بس قالوا له كده just like we're looking out for you, things are not looking good for your people. And he's like, what you mean my people?
وده كان وقت صعب بالنسبة ليكوا, وان انتوا تسيبوا امريكا وترجعوا مصر, ولا انتوا كنتوا حاسين ان انتوا يعني القدر او الموقف خلاكوا تحسوا ان انتوا صدمة الموقف خلتكم عايزين ترجعوا مصر؟
لا صدمة عادي. I was living in a white neighborhood, man. We good. You know what I mean? I look white. فأنا تمام. بس أنا بالنسبة لي يعني, أما أنت عندك 15 أو 16 سنة, انت عيل صغير. انت عيل.
كلنا كنا عيال صغيره في السن ده, ما بناخدش القرارات.
ايوه بالظبط. فانت مش اللي انت اللي بتاخد القرار, انت اهلك انت ماشي وراهم, وما ينفعش في اي يعني موقف من الحاجات اللي حصلت دي تقول لهم لا يا جماعه انتوا توكلوا انتوا بلدكم دي وانا هفضل هنا في امريكا وكده. مش حاجه اسمها كده يعني. for my story يعني شخصيا انا, بس انا بتكلم اللي هو طبعا انا متعود خلاص, انت اتبرمجت مخك بقى امريكاني او تامريك او على الانفايرمنت, ما it's nurture versus nature. فعلى طول البيئه بتاثر عليك وتكوينك وتكوين شخصيتك اكتر من البيت, تاثير البيت والعيله وكده. وطبعا ابويا بيشتغل حوالي شغلتين 16 ساعه في اليوم كل يوم, عشان في امريكا مش بيعترفوا بشغل خبرة شغل برا أمريكا. فيقول لك you're not American, you know, I'm sure it's the same in Canada طبعا.
بالظبط.
You have to build up work experience. seeing the guy build up himself, he's an immigrant fam, ويثبت نفسه, he did that. That's why I look up to him like dude انت كافحت, وكمان كافح وهو عنده 35 سنة و3 عيال. أنا عندي 35 سنة عندي كلبة فاهم. أنا بالنسبة لي I look at that and I'm like yo that's some real talk. That's and I appreciate the struggle. كمان I respect it.
We appreciate Hashem's pops. Thanks pops.
Yeah. Shout out to El Garhys.
If you had to
if you had a chance to get back in time and see your mom again, what is it that you would tell her that you haven't said? What kind of emotion would you purvey if you didn't show?
If I went back in time to tell her something?
Yeah.
What point in time though? That's the question. Like when I was younger or when I was...
اي وقت انت شايفه يعني في اي موقف انت كنت اي فترة انت كنت بتعدي بيها في حياتك كنت حاسس ان انت يعني
I don't know. I mean...
انت محتاج تتكلم وما اتكلمتش مثلا كنت محتاج تقول حاجات او كنت تشعر بحاجات وما بينتش ده.
سؤال قوي بصراحة يعني ما بينتش ده طبعا. أنا مامي الله يرحمها كانت تقليدية أوي, she's very traditional, so I can't go back and tell her yo mama party and with you know and hang out with chicks and do all that, you know what I mean. I couldn't display that type of behavior to her. هي طبعا she knows that we grew up abroad so we hang out, but I never advertised, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna go party and my mom, I'm gonna go get shit faced, you know. You know, like in the States, that culture, you can go do that. For my mom wasn't the type of mother. She's a traditional Egyptian mother طبعا. Overprotective فشخ, فما ينفعش اللي انت تقول لها exactly what you want, what you're gonna do. I respected that she comes from a different tradition, but she had to understand it. It took a while. احنا كنا بنتخانق كتير قوي. And there's a clash, even though she, you know, she was there for the amount of time we were there in the States. بس في نفس الوقت it's always difficult to make someone understand where you're coming from when they came from a completely different background. مش هتغير التقاليد والعادات بتاعتها. فاهم قصدي؟ زي ما هي she's trying to instill those عادات in you, and no matter what, again, nurture versus nature, full circle. هتلاقي اللي انت you're more akin to being or your personality being shaped from the external resources, external environment than the one at home. I guess it was a constant struggle. So if I were to go back, I would tell her like, let's try to understand, let's try to reach a common ground as opposed to no, whoa. You know, you always felt like a gun got cocked back. لا. ما كانش فيه commonality in trying to communicate. Well, I think that's the problem كمان with a lot of Egyptian parents عموما بصفة عامة from the new generation, this Gen Z and all that. My cousin مثلا, my aunt, there's a huge gap in the age, and he's 17, 18 years old, you know, Gen Z or whatever. Okay. And my aunt is, you know, well into her 60s. So خلاص, because she had him when she was 40. But there's always that gap. And it's always going to be there because, like I said, هم تربيتهم مختلفة عن تربيتنا. When I'm sure it's going to occur the same with our kids, you know, down the line. If I would tell her just like chill for a second, let's find some common ground. I'm not, I understand I'll always be your child, your baby, but at the same time, نفهم بعض بدل ما نهاجم بعض عشان ما لهاش لازمة. يعني انتي أمي في الأول في الآخر, you know what I mean? Even though we will always have our disagreements عشان it's your mother. Yeah, بالظبط. وبعدين في الأول في الآخر, when she got sick, my doctor was like, yo, remember those things called disagreements? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you have none of those. You don't have any مشاهير except that you just listen to her whenever, you know, you just bite the bullet. I know that you were outspoken وكده, بس it's just chill. And that's when you have to kind of put like your ego to the side, and you have to put كل حاجة على جنب and just be like, all right, cool, I'm gonna accept this person, my mother, for who she is. It's not her fault that she turned out this way. This is برضو, she's a product of her environment and her family, and all this was so much that son. It's cool. I'm a very forgiving person. I'm cool. أنا مش عايز وجع دماغ. I don't want وجع دماغ. And there's just some people, like, unfortunately, some of them can be family, some of them can just because there's no common ground for communication, and because of the generational gap, sometimes it could be a very toxic relationship. This is why I don't live with my father, because I know that if we lived him, there's too much احتكاك, you know, there's too much tension because two different schools of thought, you know. I thank God I have a job now, because before that he'd be like, dude, what are you doing with your life, you know? And how is your relationship with your father now? We spoke about your mom. My father and I have always been boys, you know. He's my bestie, puppy best friend. Always. And yeah, alhamdulillah, ever since university, بس غير كده like I said I can't like when the corona happened I was just like listen I'm gonna go home عشان I got things to do at home وكده and I just knew برضو someone his age someone my age there is a 30-year gap لازم تحترم ده لازم تحترم اللي فيه آراء مختلفة انت مش لازم تبقى موافق عليها شخصيا مش لازم بس في الأول وفي الآخر يعني with all due respect to anyone who is talking to their to an older generation whether it's their parents or their grandparents or whatever you have to sometimes shut the fuck up and keep your mouth closed وتسمع because these people are the ones that inevitably they raised us so we owe them that respect no matter what we can't just be like no dad you shut the fuck up you know what I mean you can't do that you can't do that no there is that respect that you have to yeah 100% man
كتير مننا ما بياخدش باله ان فعلا الاستماع والlistening is a very important skill ان احنا نكتسبها it's really important that we listen and stop talking for a minute just to understand and digest يعني ال information او الكلام اللي بيوصل لنا ده وازاي احنا هنستوعبه وهنرد عليه بطريقة تكون مناسبة او طريقة تكون ايجابية.
بص هي لازم طبعا تبقى طريقة ايجابية وزي ما قلت لك انا اكتشفت ده انا very outspoken برضو I'm very stubborn completely انا عندي فشخ وطبعا احنا بنحاول احنا نشتغل على نفسنا عشان نتطور بس انت فاهم اللي هو فعلا sometimes you just have to let go يعني انا اتعلمت ده اللي هو for your own mental well-being على فكرة نفسيتك انت لو ماسك في العقيدة بتاعتك وبتعند مجرد بس انت مش داخل رأي الطرف التاني في دماغك انت اللي بتتعب في الاخر فاهم قصدي يعني we should apply this model in life we should give less fucks فعلا because we are on very very limited time وبنمسك في الحاجة وبتخلينا تقطعنا من جوه انا كنت كده بس بعد ما امي توفت الله يرحمها I'm just like yo why life is super short why ليه نمسك في حاجات رغم ان احنا بني ادمين وهنحس بكده على طول هنحس بفيه ضغط نفسي بس انا لاحظت اللي هو الضغط النفسي ده بيكبر when we hold on to it as opposed to letting it go
صح انت عندك حق احنا لما بنقعد نعبي فعلا بنحس ان احنا قد ايه مش قادرين نتعامل مع الموقف وده بالظبط اللي هاشم بيتكلم عليه هاشم A little bird told me you attend therapy sessions. What can you tell us?
It's the best phase of my life. لا أنا بص أنا I'll tell you something. طول عمري كنت ضد الموقف اللي أنا أروح للدكتور نفسي وبدأت أما أروح أبوي بيقول هو أنت بتروح لدكتور نفسي ليه؟ I'm like أنت رشحت الفكرة bro. You told me you wanted me to go see a shrink because you thought I was crazy. You know because he thought he's like أنت مش طبيعي أنت إزاي مش بتدور على شغل إزاي أنت سايب نفسك كده مفروض دلوقتي أنت بتبقى تعمل فلوس وأنت سايب نفسك you're educated حرام عليك نفسك. This is before I got my employment status and then he's like حبيبي ما اعرفش ايه كويس انت you got your head on right اخيرا انت بقيت كويس and I'm like what does that mean he's like خلاص انت ما بقيتش مريض I was like bro you better watch what you saying he's like لا قصدي انت خلاص you're good as him knowing اللي هو خلاص انت you don't need العلاج you don't need to see a shrink because to me you're fixed you got a job you know what I mean he associated it with that اللي انت you're عاقل enough to get a job to know the situation that you're in for you to get a job and I'm like okay cool. So I don't need to go to a shrink he's like no انت خفيت خلاص and I'm like thanks dad you know but I realized no when I went not because of him but when I went because there was a trigger and I caught the trigger mid like conversation I realized that there has to be something that I have to address and أنا ما كنتش مدرك بيها because I've been doing comedy for so long في الوقت اللي ماما كانت تعبانة فيه and the illness and all that and the coping became through comedy and the defense mechanism became comedy فغصب عني نفسيا بقيت كوميديان جامد جدا أنا آسف يا أستاذ
أنت جامد فعلا دي حقيقة.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just saying how this is it coping with pain or not being able to talk about it because you're doing amazing jokes or you're letting the jokes kind of heal your pain فاهم قصدي and then been doing that for such a long time حسيت اللي هو لا أنا this is clearly a coping mechanism and comedy should not be used as a coping mechanism. It should be used sure to talk about something بس and to laugh about something بس اللي هو there has to be more work على النفس. يعني أنا أبوي بيقول لي أنت ليه بتروح؟ فقلت له عشان عايز أشوف رأي حد who's a professional in analyzing me and my personality and all these flaws that I see in myself. I wanted someone who is a professional.
وإنه هو يوجهك كمان يعني أو هي توجهك.
بالضبط. وبعدين في نفس الوقت أحلى إفيهات طلعت من therapy to be honest. Not like as a coping mechanism because أنا my life is a running joke, not like as a joke like حاجة بنضحك عليها بس لا حاجة المواقف اللي بتعدي عليها أو عليا أو أنا بعدي عليها مش فارق يعني.
الحياة سريعة الحياة demanding.
فشخ. وبعدين it will be يعني like I said because you've already dealt with a lot of pain قبل كده وحسيت emotional motherfucking terrorism in your head because of illness. أعوذ بالله يعني I don't wish it upon anybody but because I saw that I kind of became desensitized to pain. So when I went to the doctor and I was like 1 2 3 this is what I'm dealing with and he's like all right cool take this test. You think I'm gonna want to hear all your bullshit? I'm like no I get it.
What test was that?
It's a personality test. It's 567 قرارات لازم اخدهم في حياتي. yeah and it basically بيقيمك عشان هو زي ما عندوش وقت اللي هو يقعد يكلم كل حد عشان يعرف التفاصيل اللي في حياته. فالامتحان الشخصية ده بيقيم او بيديله بروفايل ازاي البني ادم اللي قدامه ده ايه نظامه. بالظبط. فانا لما دخلت عملت الامتحان ده كلموني وانا كنت متحمس. I'm like yes اخيرا هيفهموني. كلمني قلت له ايه جبت النتيجه؟ قال لي لا لازم تيجي تاخد امتحان تاني. قلت له ازاي لازم اخد الامتحان تاني؟ انا استغربت برضه زيك. and he's like انت عملت الامتحان غلط. I'm like it's a yes or no question like test like عملت غلط ايه فيه؟ he's like اصل انت you have عدد معين for I don't knows لا اجابه. I'm like how many? And he's like 5 and I'm like how many did I answer? He's like 51. Get over here عشان مفيش حد فاهمك عشان ما تضيعش فلوس يا ابني انت حرام عليك. فبس I went and I took it again and then he told me that I require psychotherapy but then he's like cool you gotta pay up front. So I'm like yeah I don't really need psychotherapy anymore. بس حسيت اللي it's nice to have someone listen to you because sometimes you can be too much for yourself if that makes sense.
Oh طبعا it makes a lot of sense. هاشم احنا اتكلمنا عن ال therapy and those important things that we have to go through. انت صح طبعا حاجات كتيرة بتحصل لنا في حياتنا واحنا بنكون حاسين بحاجات معينة وبيبقى صعب علينا ان احنا نتكلم مع حد ويعني kudos to you ان انت you got out of the normal فاهم بتاعنا في الكالتشر بتاعنا خصوصا الكالتشر المصري بتاعنا. احنا كتير ما بنكونش عايزين نتفتح للموضوع ده خصوصا الرجالة يعني لان احنا دايما حاسين ان احنا نقدر نتعامل مع اي موقف مهما كان من غير ما نقول لحد ومن غير ما نزعل حد يعني من اي حاجة. ايه بقى حاجة هاشم بيعملها whether بقى تكون يومية أو أسبوعيا أو شهريا حاجة بتدي لك طاقة إيجابية حاجة بتخليك كده energized مبسوط حاجة تساعدك فاهم إن أنت تكمل كل يوم كده بطريقة حلوة؟
بص أنا wanna sound cliché ولا أي حاجة بس I pray أنا بصلي and I think being consistent in that just like being consistent in anything I think that's what gives me a clear state of mind or بيفكرني أنا رايح فين because I know deep down in my heart like God sent me my vision for what I want to do in my life ومش شرط كل الناس لازم تفهمه. as long as I have that feeling and I pray towards that هو ده اللي بيخليني أكمل بصراحة. طبعا عشان الحياة ضغط والنفوس وعلى طول الواحد stressed out I feel like that's an avenue for me just to be with my creator and be like hey you see what's going on you know what I mean help a brother out because it's difficult and على طول life is always going to test you. It's always important. I think for me, روحانيات, I think that's what I went personally as Hashem. That's where I find comfort. I like listening to classical music that kind of takes away from the
musical therapy in a way.
Yeah, kind of like that different vibrations, I'm into that like 528 frequency. Look that up, it gives you, it comes, it gives you more focus and it clears. It's all about sound and vibrations. I kind of go down that area, but it's mainly going to God, you know. And for me, that's what got me through the most difficult times, including my mother's death. And just like in the most difficult times when dealing with financial burden, you're like, okay, what am I gonna do now? You know, so where best to go than, you know, to the source. For me personally, that's how I feel. Yeah,
makes sense
for sure, because nobody gives a fuck about you. You know what I mean? That I realize that, not out of like, oh, nobody cares or anything like that, but like when shit comes to fam,
you'll be surprised,
dude. When push comes to shove, كل حد بيبان على وضعه على ألوانه الحقيقية. Everybody shows their true colors in the right time. And you have to discover that the hard way. And they say برضو that what's it called, the lesson will keep coming until you learn it. هتفضل فاهم تتفشخ until the lesson, okay, got it, right click, save, you know. I learned this one, you know. And I think اللي احنا, we often need to revisit our actions and realize اللي احنا, we have to فعلا ندرك مثلا I am not where I want to be, not because the world sucks and life is shit, but because I didn't take action X, Y, and Z. Because there's things that are in your control وفي الآخر في حاجات برا ايديك تماما, and that's where, you know, God comes in. You're like, you know what's best, take me there, you know where I want to go, just take me there, you know.
لا تمام انا فاهم ده كويس. وعايز بس كنت ازود على حاجه انت قلتها في الكونفرسيشن دلوقتي عن الناس.
قول يا باشا.
Is it harder to love
دلوقتي is it harder to love؟ انا عامه I'm a hopeless romantic. لو في بنت عدت قدامي اسمها حب I will love the fuck out of her, you know. I love you so much, فاهم. بس انا في الاخر again we're not the same people. من سبع احنا ايه بقالنا كام سنه متخرجين من الجامعه 2009 ف what good, you know, 13 14 15 years.
Yes,
you know, you have kids now. You know what I mean, ما شاء الله ربنا يخلي, you know what I mean. But we change and we're constantly definitely not the past versions of ourselves. وده اللي انا بدرجه دلوقتي, even though like I still act like a child sometimes, but out of fun, you know, because you have that. An Indian guy told me he understands energy. He's like, you have, you know, childlike energy. And I'm like, what does that mean? I have childlike energy. And he's like, it means انت عبيط. I was like, what? You know what I mean? For sometimes I appreciate the childlike energy that I can still, yes, I'm 35 years of age, but yeah, can I still act like a 10-year-old? Hell yeah, for sure. And I think that's what keeps me going, برضو, because if that childlike energy didn't exist, then life would just kind of be very bitter. Okay. And you're gonna be angry. مش هتبتسم في وش الناس. تبقى اللي هو عارف في ناس كده بتبص لها, they have the most poker face ever and it never changes. Like I have this one guy at work, poker face fresh ونضارة, فاهم. He's always under the نضارة, he's always wearing the نضارة, always he walks by you in the morning, same face as he's walking by when he's leaving. You know what I mean? I'm like, who hurt you, my child? You know what I mean? But, yeah, but I'm not judging that. And then when I saw him smile, I was like, dude, I had to let him know. I was like, this is the first time and I've been here for 8 months, bro. I feel like I will always be the person that wants to love, that believes in love, because of that being that hopeless romantic. But because at the same time, الدنيا, you know, بتفشخ الواحد لغاية ما يتعلم again the lesson. It's very difficult to put the trust of someone taking care of your heart out of you being wanting to being taken care of by someone. Yes. When you had a really bad experience, and for me personally, yeah, it's great to be in love, but it's better to earn the person's trust الأول in order for you to be able to love. I love everybody, but am I in love with everybody? That's the question, فاهم قصدي؟
انت عندك حق يا هاشم, لأن ده بيحتاج وقت والتغيير بيحتاج وقت. فكله build up على حاجة, فاهم؟
أنا what the therapist told me, let's jump back to the therapist, قال لي he's like, give me the test. He's like, you see this graph right here? And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, you're below average. I'm like, below average? That's kind of like, okay, what does that mean? And he's like, no, out of that activity on the test where you have to plan the result, I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, you suck at planning. That's the natiga, and it says impaired. Like impaired. super impaired. It's super demeaning على فكرة. I was like, I'm impaired.
يعني هو كان بيحاول يقول لك ان انا مش فاهمك في الحتة دي.
انت عبيط فشخ فعلا.
هاشم، لا بجد يعني
قول يا باشا،
ايه اكبر صدمة حصلت لك في حياتك وتعاملت معاها ازاي مهما كانت؟
فأنهي جزء في حياتي؟ عشان في صدمات كتيرة.
مش جزء معين، انا عايز اكبر صدمة حصلت لك في حياتك، اكتر حاجة affected هاشم in life, in mentality, in change, in the way you operate, the way you move, the way you think, the way you talk to people.
اكبر صدمة. اوكي بص، انا عايز اقول بس مش عايز اقول. بس اما اتسرقت I guess that kinda gave me هي كانت صدمة طبعا، عشان ما كنتش متوقع ان ده ممكن يحصل لي يوم من الايام. وفي نفس الوقت ما كنتش يعني عارف اللي هو زي ما قلت لك عايش على اوتو بايلوت like life is لا 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 لا، وبعدين الصدمة بتحصل you're like wow is that. فاهم ايه اللي حصل دلوقتي؟ فده طبعا يرجع انت تبقى عندك ثقة في ناس. و actually let me rephrase that. مش الثقة في الناس, it redefines what you see as trust in people, what you define as trust in this. So it redefines the trust of how what you see is not who you see as trustworthy, but what you define trust as. Is it trust اللي هو all the way أنا أثق في البني آدم ده عمياني, أو the basic thing اللي أنا I'm gonna trust myself, اللي أنا أبقى واعي بالظروف اللي أنا فيها. فلا أنا هترست نفسي اللي أنا أبص في الريسيت تاني عشان هشوف اللي مفيش نصبايا, حاجات صغيرة كده مثلا بسيطة بتخليك واعي. أما ده حصل لي فأنا أدركت اللي أنا لازم أبقى واعي أكتر. Just be more present, not in the ballers. ما تبقاش اللي هو مش مغيب, بس اللي لا to be more present أو to listen to your gut. عارف يقولك your gut feeling is the second brain, it's the مخ التاني. فما يجي لك الإحساس في بطنك ده اللي هو أنا حاسس بحاجة مش مظبوطة, الفايب معين, الأجواء نفسها, فده بيخليك more. دلوقتي أنا I decided not to ignore that. you know, like لو في حاجة مش تمام لا أنا هقول وهتكلم, ولو مجرد بس أن أنا حسيت بالطاقة مش aligned بالطاقة الطبيعية بتاعتك, فبالتالي ده خلاني اللي أنا redefine what I believe trust is, because it's a very very volatile word that we just throw out there وبنرميها كده أكنها يا عم ده أخويا مش صاحبي. أعرف ده لو حد قال لك كده ده أول واحد هيفشخك. لو أخويا مش صاحبي فشخك.
لو بحس برضو ان احنا يعني في العصر الجديد بتاعنا اللي احنا عايشين فيه, المودرن ديجيتال لايف اللي احنا عايشين فيه, وقد ايه evolve. There's so much digital, there's so much over computers and tablets and phones. It's hard to really trust people, you know, in a digital conversation. يعني مش زي زمان لما كنت بتتكلم مع ناس face to face. I guess what hurts most is that when you meet those people face to face and you get betrayed that way.
والله no, we are the byproduct of بص it comes back to authenticity. يعني انت في ناس هتطلع هتمثل على السوشيال ميديا وبعدين في الاخر ممكن تطلع بني ادم مختلف يقولك يا عم ده كاركتر يا باشا, just doing a character whatever on social media عشان for them اللي هم يلفتوا نظر الناس او to get a big following or whatever. انا I don't give a fuck. يعني الايام دي والله بعد ما بيحصل لك كمية صدمات في الحياة, وطبعا انا ما اقدرش ان انا اقعد اشتكي واقول اصل حصل لي كذا وده عمل لي كذا او ده كذا كذا كذا, ده معناه ان انت you're just a whining little bitch, you know what I mean, like ان انت خلاص. طب ما في كلنا بنشتكي من يعني, وانا مش اكتر واحد عدى عليا مأساة في حياتي, في ناس اتفشخت في حياتها, فما نقدرش ان احنا نقارن, بس احنا نقدر ان احنا نبقى اذكياء about who we put in our lives, who we surround each other with. You were just saying اللي هو the group that you're around, they're the ones that make you define who you are. At the same time أنا بالنسبة لي no, because so many صدمات they can either make you or break you. بس في الأول في الآخر if you're authentic to who you are, then I think الناس are gonna naturally gravitate towards you. النوعين برضو, especially and I'll speak on my own behalf عشان I'm in the entertainment industry.
Of course.
I feel like بالذات في الصناعة دي عشان everyone's looking out for themselves like in anywhere else طبعا يعني, بس لو هم عايزين مصلحتهم وخلاص, مش فارقة معاهم مش فارقة معايا الناس من بصص, you know that, yeah, من بصص بالظبط. And that's true, those words are so true because انت فعلا في المواقف اللي انا اتكلمنا فيها قبل كده بيتبين فعلا الناس على وضعها, ومين اللي عايز يساعدك ومين اللي هيبقى في ظهرك ومين اللي هيبقى موجود بس اللي هو فعلا they're just along for the ride وشكرا أخدوا اللي هم عايزينه سواء معنويا or whatever يعني, فاهم قصدي؟ it's up to you, like I said, who you want to identify yourself with عشان and who you put your trust in with, because لا الأيام دي الناس أنا حاسس من تجربتي الشخصية الأيام دي أنا حاسس من تجربتي الشخصية مش لازم تثق في كل الناس أو كلام الناس, أو يعني استنى لغاية ما تشوفهم في أفعالهم بالذات towards the situation that you're in. Test them, فاهم قصدي؟ Call them up and test them. Be like, hey, I need to borrow some money. Maybe you don't need to borrow some money, but test them. شوف هم نيتهم ايه. وممكن تعمل نفس التست على ناس مختلفة خالص, مش لازم كلهم يبقوا في نفس ال يعني درجة الصحوبية أو الصداقة أو الacquaintance زي بعض, بس تستم عشان ممكن الacquaintance يطلع أجدع من الصاحب ويساعدك ويقول لك طيب. وحصل معايا يعني اللي هو ايه ده واحد على طول ما سألش أسئلة how much do you need, وش كده اللي هو أنا مش باليش في القصص كده, لا how much على طول كده. وفي ناس تقول لك لا والله يا باشا احنا يعني فاهم اللي هو
ولا لينا ولا علينا,
وده اللي بيخليك فاهم بالظبط ولا ليك ولا عليك, وده اللي بيخليك اوكي كول الحمد لله ربنا وراني نفوس الناس. وبعدين في الاخر you can choose should انا بقى اروح بقى اعلق على كل الكلام ده, ولا خلاص انا اخدت المعلومه وخلاص I'm not gonna give a fuck. انا اخدت المعلومه I don't give a fuck خلاص تمام great. يعني كده الدنيا ماشيه, فاهم؟ الدنيا مش بتوقف على حد وربنا ماشيه, فاهم؟ الحمد لله.
انت صح يا هاشم. يعني انا في رايي يا جماعه ان احنا دايما على قد ما نقدر نحب الناس ونديلهم يعني احلى حاجه فينا we have our best intention forwards ليهم, ويكون احنا في نفسنا ان هم ده يكون برضو هو اللي عايزين يعملوه معانا. بس ما يا ريت ما نتسرعش ان احنا نثق في الناس, فاهم؟ بطريقه سريعه نبتدي بس, ومش لازم حتى نجربهم, كل واحد فينا مختلف, لكن يعني معاملتنا معاهم وكلامنا معاهم يقول لنا على اسلوبهم والاكشنز اللي هياخدوها معانا في المواقف اللي احنا بنعدي بيها في حياتنا, وده يقول لك يعني اذا كان ده شخص ممكن تثق فيه او لا. يا ريت ما نكونش الصراع يعني في الثقة في الناس, لكن نحب الناس ونحترمها ونخلي موضوع الصحوبية زي ما احنا مجبرنا يعني يبقى طبيعي شوية, يبقى اورجانيك, وما يكونش حاجة احنا بنحاول نفورس او حاجة نخليها يعني تبقى حقيقية وهي مش حقيقية, ما يمكن ده يضرك.
دي حقيقة. انا كنت عايز اعلق النقطة دي اللي هو فعلا ونرجع للدكتور النفسي لما قال لي انت you have كنت رايح عشان ADHD واخدت الامتحان وكده والشخصية وكده, بس قال لي الشارت انت you suck at planning بس you're impulsive. فانت نفس النقطة اللي انت تتكلم فيها اللي احنا نتسرع. انا لقيت يعني clinically speaking انا مخي operates in a very impulsive way, باخد قرارات متسرعة في حياتي. فيمكن زي ما بقول لك انا ما هو ده it's linked to me being a hopeless romantic or something, اللي انا بحب بسرعة. فدلوقتي اللي انا اتعلمته من الصدمات اللي انا خدتها, لا don't trust people, you don't know if they have, how do you know they love you, they don't even know you, فاهم قصدي؟ فمش فده دي الفكرة, مش عشان انت مستسلم لو بتحب الحب ودي مكونات شخصيتك اصلا فتخلي ده فدلوقتي واما بدرك الموقف ده وهو قال لي انت you suck at planning cool ما ينفعش تخطط لحياتك قلت له لا يا عم ايش
هاشم
هخطط
you suck at planning no, I'm joking
بس اللي انت you're impulsive it really hit a mark with me عشان انا فعلا impulsivity or having an impulsive behavior or impulsive attitude doesn't necessarily mean اللي هو you're impulsive اللي انت تشتري حاجة material object لا you're impulsive in انت بتتسرع بتاخد قرارات وده اللي انا حصل لي تسرعت ان انا اخد قرارات شخصية ضرتني
of course I was joking when I said you suck at planning I was just mimicking what your doctor said I personally as my guest and as my friend I don't think so I don't think someone that sucks at planning can build you know what you've built this far
but it's not planning it's no, I'm talking about the impulsive behavior the planning you can plan and then it can go down to ولا حاجة تفلق منك وخلاص بس لا أنا with حزب الكوميدي I didn't plan necessarily for everything to go the way that it did لا in 10 years I thought I would have my own comedy club that's not the case فاهم قصدي ما أنا I can plan for that وأقول يا رب أنا أتوكل عليك يا رب ومفوض أمرك ليا اللي أنت you know to take me where I need to be yeah I did I remember in the early business plans اللي أنا كنت كاتب فيها I want to have a physical location كمان 5 سنين to have a physical location in 5 سنين it didn't happen but I traveled abroad مثلا when I was approaching 10 سنين instead of having my own physical place I had my own TV show I was on Comedy Central Presents in Dubai we were the first people to get contacted فببص على الحاجات اللي هو انت ممكن تبقى مخطط على ايه ويجي لك حاجة تانية and you're like interesting okay cool maybe it's not time for that it's not that fixed time for that specific thing that I want but here's something that lets me know that I'm on the right path at least فاهم قصدي
God's time is the best time
100% ومليون في المية yeah مليون في المية because again I was like I'm gonna have my own comedy club before I'm 30 what happened before I'm 30 I'm doing surgery and donating a third of my liver to my mom you know and she still wouldn't do my laundry man if I look at it like okay cool maybe not what was I planning but is it something that I can learn from yeah of course وبعدين زي ما بقول لك انت بتدرك الموضوع ده بعدين قوي بعد ما كل الكلام ده انا ما كنتش كده انا at the time I was very like I said اللي هو لا I'm doing comedy وما اعرفش ايه وبعدين صدمة بعد صدمة بعد صدمة بعد صدمة مش شرط اللي هي تبقى حاجة يعني life changing or whatever طبعا it could just be an epiphany فاهم قصدي a صدمة so it gave you an epiphany of that you need to change your behavior towards or your attitude towards life or a habit that you need to change بيجيلك الإدراك ده أما يحصل لك الصدمة and the صدمة doesn't have to be your mother diagnosed with liver cirrhosis and having a limited time to live بالعكس I think إحنا we should look at the smaller صدمات as little signs and we're like okay cool maybe this is a small sign for me to adjust myself
أيوة like a type of guideline
yeah I think yeah عشان هي بتبقى صدمة زي ما انت قلت it's a shock it's a shock اللي هو ايه ده مش عارف اللي ده هيحصل
الواحد يحاول يستوعب المميزات والحاجات الإيجابية اللي فيها يعني ويتعلم منها ويحسن من نفسه فيها
بس ده مش اللي بيحصل اللي بيحصل احنا نمشي في السكة التانية اللي هو ازاي ده حصل لي we start to victimize ourselves and that was for the longest time big part of what I was like why is this happening you know and
يا صح انت صح وعشان كده احنا هنا في صدمة بنحاول نوجه الناس لده
yeah ما if more people understood and I think this really hit home for me and if we could leave off at this اللي هو life is 90% what's it called 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it
right
I strongly believe in that طبعا when you look back وبتدرك كل situations لو هل أنا I reacted it to in the right way and sometimes you're like no أنا ممكن كنت اتصرفت بطريقة أحسن أو طريقة أذكى أو طريقة whatever and then you're like بينك وبين نفسك but at the time there's so many other factors that you don't take into consideration when evaluating those decisions انت فاهم قصدي because you're emotional for example and sometimes
it's very true
yeah you have to learn how to put that to the side unfortunately كل الصدمات اللي في حياتنا لازم ناخدها عشان نبقى ناس أحسن شكرا هاشم الجارحي. شكرا لك الوقت. Is that good? You got any more questions, yeah?
اخر سؤال.
اتفضل.
النهارده معاك يا هاشم، واظن ده يعني حاجه مش انا بس كصديق يعني I'm very proud of. بس اظن كتير مننا اللي بنحبك. over a decade of حزب comedy.
Over a decade, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
What's next from الحزب? What can we expect نستناه من حزب الكوميدي الفترة اللي جاية؟
You know, I've been following this really up and coming comedian. He's really awesome, and he's really someone that I look up to, and I would like to aspire to be like him one day, and you know, just take it to the next level. And his name is Hashem El Garhy. No, I joke, but I do want to focus on myself, to be honest. I think putting 10 years into something, أي مشروع في حياتك هتتضم يعني احنا ايه. I'm 35 years of age دلوقتي. I started when I was 24. Started performing when I was 22. I feel اللي هو يعني أي وقت في حياتك هتتضم فيه فترة طويلة قوي. So and by getting married, having kids, starting a project or whatever it may be, it goes in من حياتك. I think I gave a lot to organizing stand-up comedy shows في مصر وأعرف الناس يعني إيه stand-up comedy. ولغاية دلوقتي في ناس كتيرة مش عارفة، وعشان مش عشان أنا فشلت، بس عشان maybe I don't have the resources to do it. بس دلوقتي مثلا I know the trickle down effect of الحزب الكوميدي. There are shows دلوقتي that sell out within a day. There's 2 shows that got announced from a group of comedians that were performing with حزب زمان that are doing their own thing دلوقتي, and it's sold out within a day. 2 shows ورا بعض فاهم, big seats, like big كافة. ما شاء الله. Yeah, ما شاء الله عليهم. It's رزقهم. And I always say that it's not, you don't always have to be in the spotlight. أنا عملت حاجة and I've been in the spotlight for 10 years. Great, let's focus بقى. خلاص the stand-up comedy scene is built. عملنا كل حاجة, we milked it, or we're still starting to milk it دلوقتي. بس أنا عايز أركز على نفسي. خلاص أنا عايز أركز على نفسي as a comedian, as an entrepreneur, and maybe sometimes أما ربنا يكرم يعني as a husband sometime in the future. You know, these things are important, and because we live in a kind of dunya-like world, you know, we shouldn't hold on to a lot. It's
such a great say that you just said that.
Yeah. I mean, we're not taking anything. أنا في الأول وفي الآخر people are gonna forget Hashem El Garhy, but are they gonna forget? It's just like Maya Angelou said, live the life put life in the years that you live, not live the years in your life. Put life in the years that you live, Fallon. Yes. And I feel like I did that for 10 years, focusing on something that became much bigger than what I am. ودلوقتي I want to focus on myself, so maybe I can have an equal impact, or maybe حاجة ربع كده or whatever, just so you can be happy, you know, because I can't believe like that we graduated from university almost 13-14 years ago. الوقت راح فين, you know? And that's it. And that's what I continue to doing. And what's next for Hizb, just to answer your question, is, you know, taking this thing and continuing it to export it outside of Egypt, because we deserve, just like any artist outside their countries are representing their countries. I think it's something that it's our obligation to do that, تصدر الثقافة بتاعتنا, الثقافة المصرية اللي هي بقالها من الثلاثينات بتتصدر حوالين الوطن العربي كله. And I think that's a huge advantage for us as Egyptians.
Of course. And
a responsibility until you represent your country, not just like, oh, أنا بمثل مصر. No, أنت بتمثل an art form that people did not يعترفوا بيه, and now people are booking shows weeks in advance and their shows are getting sold out. So I think that impact has to be seen on a global level, بالذات اللي احنا عايشين في a global world دلوقتي.
And I think برضه it's incredible for حزب كوميدي, علشان حزب كوميدي didn't just introduce the stand-up comedy بالعربي بس also بالإنجليزي. فيعني الإنجليش والعربي يعتبروا كانوا جزء, خصوصا زمان لما كانش ده accepted أكتر, فاهم, بالنسبة لناس كتيرة. ودلوقتي يعني تشوف زي ما انت شفت يعني
بالظبط زي ما هي كده, ان انت بتفهم الناس يعني ايه ستاند اب كوميدي. وبعد 10 سنين دلوقتي في ناس زي ما بقول لك رزقهم, but they're selling out shows weeks in advance, 700 seater shows, by the way, not like 50 seats, no, 700 seats, mashallah. It's their rizq. And I look at that, I was like, cool, if that was the effect or one of the effects of what we did, great. أنا مش هبص عليهم it's like oh اشمعنى هم you know what I mean. خلاص I've been in the news. I've been and I've been talking in interviews. I've you know fam been there done that. What's next? Sure, I'll go back collab with the big international artists like I did. You know, get Russell Peters like I did, and go talk to Kevin Hart. Go talk to all these people because they're interested in. Any comedian wants the world as his stage.
Of course.
عشان كده أنا عايز أصدر برا. It's not يعني أنا ما اخترعت مش بخترع ما بقول عايز أطلع برا مصر وأصدر. لا, I've been doing it since 2014 الحمد لله. And I want to continue it, but on a big scale, like these huge artists that people are obsessed with that come from the West. Why are we so upset? We have more than enough talent اللي احنا نعمل ده وأكتر بكتير.
وإن شاء الله هاشم نظرتك كهاشم ونظرتك كالليدر وال البوس بتاع حزب كوميدي ان انت فعلا توجه فاهم كوميديا مصرية للعالمية
إن شاء الله.
وان شاء الله ده يبقى حاجة تتحقق وحاجة احنا كلنا نفخر بيها.
ربنا يسهل ان شاء الله. I hope so for sure and thank you man for believing in me. I appreciate it. شكرا.
لا forever may it bring forward يعني سعادة للناس حزب كوميدي وكوميديا وهي بجد بقت شيء مهم بالنسبة لنا جدا كتير لان احنا فعلا كلنا محتاجين نضحك وننسى هموم الدنيا.
ما كلنا محتاجين نضحك بالذات في الاوقات الصعبة اللي العالم فيه دلوقتي بالذات زي ما قلت لك الناس مكتئبة ف I think we have to change that narrative. لازم نخلي الناس تعرف اللي هو مفيش وقت كفاية يا جماعة ما تستاهلش الدنيا اللي انتوا تقعدوا مكتئبين وزي الشعار بتاعنا فك نفسك. فك yourself. That's basically it. That's my message to the world. You know, I just want everybody to get fucked, son. I joke, I kid. But so that's basically it, man. That's it for me.
شكرا.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me as your guest on the show.
هاشم الجارحي نورنا النهارده في استوديو صدمة. استنونا في الحلقة الجاية.